Hello and welcome back to Tiny Deltarune Details, the series where, on the run up to chapter 3 and 4, I find one minuscule detail in the existing chapters and look way too deeply into it. It's basically an excuse to talk about things that I would have no other reason to talk about. Today we have a small detail from the light world in both chapters. It's in Hometown, it's in this section of Hometown, and it's specifically right here at Flower King. You can't actually see the detail that I'm referring to here, but if you interact with the side of the shop, just around here, you find this. There's a door behind the flower shop, but there's flowers blocking the way. Crazy, right? I didn't know this line of dialogue was here until it was pointed out to me. This is the kind of small, tiny detail that just gets my mind racing. Like, what the heck could this mean? Why is it here? I always try to think about these things from the point of view of the game developer. As a developer, every single thing that you add into a game has some sort of purpose. That purpose might be serving the gameplay, or it could be adding to the lore or world building of your game, or it could possibly just be to create a funny or unexpected moment for the player. Of course, there are more purposes that game elements can serve, but those three that I've listed are ones that Toby Fox has definitely used. What I'm trying to get at is there is rarely ever an element that's added to a game that has absolutely zero purpose. Even if an element is tiny, it usually communicates at least something to the player. So then, what purpose could these lines of dialogue in Deltarune have? Well, they definitely don't serve much gameplay utility, as they are just a couple of descriptive lines of dialogue. They don't teach you anything about how to play the game, and reading these lines of dialogue does not have any interaction with the game. It could technically be a meaningless throwaway joke, as Toby is known for making those, although I wouldn't exactly say that this one is one of his best. If it's supposed to be funny, then I certainly didn't read it that way the first time, and I guess the punchline would be that there are flowers here and Asgore likes flowers. So I think it's more likely that these two lines of dialogue serve a world building or story function. They've been placed here to tell us something about this location, even if that something is quite small. For the sake of this video, we're going to assume that these lines do mean something, and then speculate from there. The fact that they've even been placed into the game communicates something to the player straight away. It communicates that there's a door on the side of the shop here. So, there's a door on the side of the shop. Where do we think this door leads? It has to lead somewhere, right? I'm not sure if you knew, but doors normally have rooms behind them. Looking at the interior of the shop that we already have, we can tell that there is most likely no door on the right-hand side of the ground floor here. There just doesn't seem to be room for it. The only other room of this shop that we can access right now is the upstairs, and I don't expect that this exterior door leads there. I suppose it technically could lead upstairs if there were stairs behind the door, but we don't see any stairs in the appropriate location upstairs, and what exactly would be the point of having two separate sets of stairs to the same room? I mean, Asgore's shop already has two, why add a third one in an unrelated place? I guess if there were stairs behind this door, then they could lead to whatever is in this back room here. However, I again don't think this makes much architectural sense, nor does it make much sense from the point of view of solving a mystery. This clue was placed here on the outside of the ground floor of this shop. There are definitely better ways at hinting at mysteries in the upstairs of this building, such as, I don't know, this big mysterious double door in the middle of the room. To me, then, the only reasonable explanation is that this door is hiding behind it a yet-to-be-seen room of Asgore's shop, a room that is below the upstairs room. This does make sense spatially, as it seems that this upstairs room is positioned backwards in comparison to the downstairs room, as we travel north when going up the stairs and can continue travelling north as we enter that room. This does leave an unaccounted for empty space that would be at the lower back a perfect spot for our mystery room to go. Alternatively, if you interpret the upstairs and downstairs rooms as being aligned with each other, then it's still entirely possible that the outside door could lead to a basement perhaps, or maybe just a thinner storage room that fits behind the downstairs room still. These ideas are somewhat backed up in-game still, as the lower room is slightly shorter than the higher one, which either way makes it seem like there is some negative space back there where the outside door could lead to. Additionally, we know upstairs that there is this back room, so even if the upstairs and downstairs rooms are the exact same dimensions, the upstairs of this shop still extends further backwards than the downstairs, as there is an unknown amount of space behind this locked door here. Something has to be underneath that for this building to make any architectural sense. So we've now confirmed that there most likely is an additional room in Flower King that we have yet to access, aside from the mystery room on the top floor. What do we think it could actually be? What secrets is Asgore hiding in there? And why is the entrance to this room covered in flowers? This room could quite honestly be anything from a dingy, disused old storage room to a secret science lab where Asgore is communicating with Gaster and experimenting on December while creating some giant mutated flowers. I think trying to figure out exactly what this room contains is pretty pointless right now, as any description I give, no matter how detailed, will likely be wrong in some aspect. But I do think it's more on the dingy, disused old storage room end of things, rather than the gastery end of things. Perhaps it's a old storage room that hides some sort of secret, some lore, I would imagine. The existence of this door already is a well-hidden secret, so I imagine whatever is inside this room could be very, very interesting. I imagine whatever we do find in this room will have something to do with Asgore's lore. Maybe it will shed some light onto why he got removed from the police force, and maybe if that relates in any way to December's disappearance, as those as well as Asgore's struggle to keep a house seem to be the main loose threads for Asgore's story right now. The whole idea of a locked room behind a house that's sort of a secret from the player does very much remind me of Sans' secret lab in Undertale, so I wonder if it's maybe a similar sort of thing to there, a room that we somehow access that gives us a bunch of cryptic lore drops. As for how we might enter this room, well, right now we can't. There are flowers blocking the way, and I could see this line being interpreted one of two different ways. Either there are potted plants blocking the door, or planted flowers in front of the door blocking entry. So flowers that have been deliberately placed or planted there, or this area of the shop is so overgrown that flowers have grown to cover the door and prevent it from opening. I feel like we'd be able to see if there were potted plants blocking the door, so I have a feeling that it's supposed to be interpreted the second way, which does add a bit of an odd, eerie vibe to this whole place. A strange, overgrown door in the back of a shop that we can't open. It also very much reminds me of this part of Undertale. This is right after you explore the True Lab in a pacifist run, and you get sent directly from there to the very end part of the game. When you appear out of the elevator, it's covered in vines, which is very likely Flowey's doing. I guess the only real similarity between these two doors is the fact that they are covered in plants of some sort. At a very big stretch, maybe this could hint at the origin of these vines in Deltarune. Maybe some sort of alive-ish flower or flower-based monster could have created them. I mean, we do have some flowery-looking flowers in the shop, so not a huge stretch, but yes, a huge stretch. This is just the first thing that came to my mind when I first learnt of this, so I thought I should include it in the video. If it's not a monster or a flowery-like creature that created these flowers blocking the way, then maybe it's something that Asgore made. Maybe it's literally just an out-of-control plant that grew over the wall. Maybe Asgore Asgore hasn't gone in this room for a long time, and just nature has taken its course and blocked off the door. Overall, this tiny little detail adds so much more mystery to Flower King for me. This location was already very noteworthy, as Asgore lives there. It's one of the locations you can place an egg, and it has a double door up here that greatly hints to a dark world being made in this location. Some people have suggested that this double door could be a red herring, but I just don't think so. I think it will contain a dark world at some point, which I've gone into in a previous video. All these mysterious loose ends I think have to culminate in something being in this location. The most likely thing that something could be is a dark world taking place here. There's just too many mysteries in this particular place for there not to be a dark world. Slight side tangent, I wonder if putting that egg in the fridge will have any impact on a potential dark world. Like, it's a physical object that we have actually added to a location. That could be interesting to see that egg turn into a darkener. Maybe it wouldn't if we didn't put it in there. Interesting thing to think about. I wonder, then, if we could perhaps enter this room after playing the inevitable Flower King Dark World. Maybe something that we do inside the Dark World could cause these flowers to dissipate. We've seen that actions taken within the Dark World can have tangible effects on the Light World, with things like Birdly either having his arm broken or not being conscious at all after exiting the Dark World. So I don't think this idea of the Dark World being key to getting rid of these flowers is totally out of the question. Maybe we defeat some sort of flower-related boss. Maybe that's even the secret boss, and that opens the way for us. Or maybe, more drastically, we do some sort of Snowgrave-esque sequence in the Flower King chapter, which causes these flowers to die. The most likely thing though, I think, is just maybe playing through the chapter normally would cause these flowers to disappear. I feel like putting any other further levels of obscurity into even accessing this room is just way too high, but maybe Toby has this as a really secret. I feel like this location still has many mysteries still yet to be solved, so let's see what we can find in future chapters, shall we? What do you think? This is an interesting detail, huh? Let me know in the comments your theories on this. I think it must have some meaning, right? If you want to help support me and the channel, you can leave a tip over on Ko-Fi, or for more longer lasting support and a credit at the beginning of the videos and a few more little perks, you can subscribe over on Patreon or become a member here on YouTube. Anything you can support really does help, but don't worry if you can't. A like and subscribe on the video also helps greatly. Glad to see this series is continuing. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in whatever the next video is.